What's up, everyone? Jazz Braganza. What's next? Your daily dose, common sense, facts, and salt. Hope you guys are feeling good today. Yeah, I guess if you're here in America, you're feeling pretty good, you know, depending on where you're at in the country. But if you're somewhere in the Middle East, maybe not so much. It's been an incredible last 15 to 18 hours. For those, of course, everyone knows at this point that Iran got the shit bombed out of them by the U.S. After getting the shit bombed out of them the first time by Israel in precise pick-print points of military installations, America's jumped in. America's jumped in with six bunker-busting bombs at at Iran's nuclear facilities, disabling them. Now, you're hearing a variety of opinions, everything from rage to I don't know what's going to happen next, to this is nothing, we're not truly in it, MAGA's forever, to Team Trump, to Team Levin, to Team Tucker Carlson. It's the opinions from Twitter and what have you. It's just going all over the place. So with this video, I'm going to try to make it as short as possible, but like I said, there is just so much that's going on right now, from where we started to what led up to this, to of course Trump's announcement, to Pete Hegseth, to a variety of opinions on Fox and on Twitter. So here we go. This is from Rumble. Of course, this is Steve Deace, and a couple opinions from both Team Tucker and Team Levin prior to what happened last night.
And people that pretty much all of you are going to know their names, all right? Because this is our attempt to assemble an all-star panel of people we probably couldn't do in the real, let alone figure out how to navigate it, even if we could.
I'm going to sit back.
So what if we just took some of their most notable comments on events that are happening in the Middle East right now, and we just shared them with you. All right. Let's begin. Okay, let's start. All right, Aaron, you got the first one. This is from the Vice President this morning. Vice President Vance says, look, I'm seeing this from the inside, and I'm admittedly biased towards our president and my friend, but there's a lot of crazy stuff on social media, so I wanted to address some things directly on the Iran issue. First, the president has been amazingly consistent over 10 years that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Over the last few months, he encouraged his foreign policy team to reach a deal with the Iranians to accomplish this goal. The president has made clear that Iran cannot have uranium enrichment, and he said repeatedly that this would happen one of two ways: the easy way or the other way. Pardon me. Second, I've seen a lot of confusion over the issue of civilian nuclear power and uranium enrichment. These are distinct issues. Iran could have civilian nuclear power without enrichment, but Iran rejected that. Meanwhile, they've enriched uranium far above the level necessary for any civilian purpose. They've been found in violation of their non-proliferation obligations by the International Atomic Energy Agency, which is hardly a right-wing organization. It's one thing to want civilian nuclear energy. It's another thing to demand sophisticated enrichment capacity. And it's still another to cling to enrichment while simultaneously violating basic non-proliferation obligations and enriching right to the point of weapons-grade uranium. So the vice president is saying that Iran has at least come to the line. At least come up to the line, if not crossed it. I have yet to see a single good argument for why Iran needed to enrich uranium well above the threshold for civilian use. I've yet to see a single good argument for why Iran was justified in violating its non-proliferation obligations. I've yet to see a single good pushback against the Atomic Agency's findings. Meanwhile, the president has shown remarkable restraint in keeping our military's focus on protecting our troops and protecting our citizens. He may decide he needs to take further action to end Iranian enrichment. That decision ultimately belongs to him. And of course, people are right to be worried about foreign entanglement after the last 25 years of idiotic foreign policy. But I believe the president has earned some trust on this issue, and I'm having seen things up close and personal, I can assure you that he is only invested in using the American military to accomplish the American people's goals. Whatever he does, that's his focus. Here, because he has shown he can navigate this without sinking into one of those two boxes, one of those two pits. That's how he's successfully done it, is he avoided them both. All right? So we should follow his lead then as much as you can in your thinking, do not reduce everything now. Everything in the Middle East is either Iraq or everything in the world, again, is World War II. Try to stay out of those two pits. Fair? Congressman Chip Roy. Strategic limited support for Israel's targeting and denial of Iranian nukes equals good. Effort for ground troops, regime change, soccer fields, supplemental soccer fields. Yeah. Put that in there. Supplemental funding, in other words, do-gooderism. All right, or endless war garbage of the last 25 years equals bad. It hasn't been done right in a long time. Let's get it right. All right, let's get to the next one. Our friend and colleague Daniel Horowitz. The key for Trump, assuming he is getting involved, is to ensure everyone that we have no interest in the day after, and that is up to the Iranian people. The Air Force will do what it does best, which is to break their crap, so that whatever emerges thereafter can't use it. So this is a distinction Daniel is drawing here, that there can be a punishment for an evil regime without chasing after utopian schemes. Okay, is the next one from Oran correct?
Yes.
All right, this one will be pretty quick, actually. Oran McIntyre, our friend and colleague, says, sure, we're currently losing a proxy war. That's the Ukraine war he's talking about. That cost us hundreds of billions of dollars that Biden promised would be over in a few months.
Facts.
But have you considered starting a second hot war simultaneously in the Middle East that will most certainly be over in a few months? That's good. I mean, Tucker, the Team Tucker, like that's a song hymnal. That's a hymnal in the Team Tucker hymnal book. Fair? I think Team Levin would probably say Trump is not Joe Biden and the Israeli Defense Force is not Zelensky, as you will. All right, this is from Sean Davis over at The Federalist. Want a quick history of Western meddling in Iran? In 1921, the Brits tapped Reza Khan, a soldier in Iran's imperial army, to engineer a coup against the dynasty that had run Iran since 1789. It took several years, but in 1925, the coup succeeded. Khan was made king or Shah of Iran. Khan modernized the country, building a national railroad system that linked the Caspian Sea to the Persian Gulf. However, because oil-rich Iran was neutral in World War II, the Brits and Soviets invaded it in 1941, believing the government was too cozy with the Axis.
This one's
They
basically
deposed
history.
Khan, whom the Brits had installed just 16 years earlier, and tapped his son, Mohammad Reza Khan Pahlavi, to replace him. That didn't last long either. After the popular Shia political leader Mohammad Masada was appointed prime minister and made good his promise to nationalize the country's oil industry, the Brits teamed up with the U.S. CIA and overthrew him and the country's democratically elected parliament. Although the U.S. initially opposed Great Britain's heavy-handed approach to Iran, calling it rule or ruin, the takeover of American foreign policy by the corrupt Dulles brothers under Eisenhower changed everything. Masada went from Times Man of the Year in 1952 to being overthrown and imprisoned in 53. He spent the rest of his life under house arrest before dying of cancer in 67. His associates, many of whom had just been democratically elected, were tortured and executed. The CIA-installed government reversed his oil nationalization and banned his National Front political party from the 54 elections. The Shah, Trump on the hook for any of the things you just mentioned? No. Those things all happened when he was not president. Shah's rule, backstopped by Western governments, became increasingly oppressive and violent. The populist anger from the CIA-orchestrated coups boiled for decades until exploding in 1979, resulting in the Iranian Revolution and the overthrow of the Shah, which led to the Islamic theocracy, which has ruled the country and terrorized the region for nearly 50 years. But I'm sure this time it will be different. There will be no downsides or adverse consequences, and everything will turn out awesome. True neoconservatism has just never been tried. Great line there at the end, channeling Chesterton there about true Christianity has never really been tried. So, of course, that's brilliantly written from Sean, because he's pretty brilliant. You can clearly say, so if what Oran gave you was one of the Psalms out of Team Tucker, I mean, this is from either the law or the prophets. All right, now. All right, next. Jack Posobiec. Again, man, this is again, like the prophet Amos just came in from shepherding the fields and jotted down for the church of Team Tucker a little prophesying. Okay, this is like justice roll on like a river, righteousness like a mighty stream here. Jack writes, regime change, recent scorecard, Iraq, chaos, death, Shia takeover. Syria, refugees fled Europe, ISIS. Afghanistan, Taliban won, got our equipment. Libya, Benghazi, refugees fled Europe. Ukraine, massive war, countless deaths. All of that factually accurate and true. What I find fascinating, though, because a lot of people know Jack because dude is a native MAGAite. Fair? And I think if you were here, he would take that as a compliment.
Yes.
Okay? Because what the Team Levin's people would say back to Jack was President Trump on the hook for any of the things you just mentioned? No. Those things all happened when he was not president.
No longer
Yes.
All right. I fought in enough fake wars. I think I'll sit this one out.
Sean Ryan.
I think what's been asked of our soldiers over the last couple of decades merits not reducing them to either a Team Levin or Team Tucker perspective. I think what's been asked of them, and then ultimately how their government has failed them in the aftermath of what they attempted to do, whether you believe it or not, I think that has merited them to have any opinion that they want to have, frankly, for or against, without other than a tip of the cap and a thank you for your service. I think they reserve the right. They're the only group of people, I think, that get the exemption of you may have any position you want and not face any scrutiny for it. You earned it. Thank you for your service. Huckabee, ambassador to Israel, left with the president this morning. Mr. President, God spared you in Butler, Pennsylvania to be the most consequential president in a century, maybe ever. The decision on your shoulders, I would not want to be made by anyone else. You have many voices speaking to you, sir, but there is one voice that matters, his voice. I am your appointed servant in this land. I'm available for you, but I do not try to get in your presence often because I trust your instincts. No president in my lifetime has been in a position like yours, not since Truman in 1945. I don't reach out to persuade you, only to encourage you. I believe you will hear from heaven, and that voice is far more important than mine or anyone else's. You sent me to Israel to be your eyes, ears, and voice to make sure our flag flies above our embassy. My job is to be the last one to leave. I will not abandon this post. Our flag will not come down. You did not seek this moment, but the moment sought you. It is my honor to serve you. Mike Huckabee.
All right, we're going to go from that to this, and this is Donald Trump last night.
Thank you very much. A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime: Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel.
True.
They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs.
True.
That was their specialty. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result of their hate. In particular, so many were killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani.
Facts.
I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue. I want to thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. We worked as a team like perhaps no team has ever worked before. And we've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. I want to thank the Israeli military for the wonderful job they've done. And most importantly, I want to congratulate the great American patriots who flew those magnificent machines tonight, and all of the United States military on an operation the likes of which the world has not seen in many, many decades. Hopefully, we will no longer need their services in this capacity. I hope that's so. I also want to congratulate the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Raisin-Kane, spectacular general, and all of the brilliant military minds involved in this attack. With all of that being said, this cannot continue. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days.
I pray for the former, not the latter.
There are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill. Most of them can be taken out in a matter of minutes. There's no military in the world that could have done what we did tonight, not even close. There has never been a military that could do what took place just a little while ago.
No lies.
Tomorrow, General Kane, Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth will have a press conference at 8 a.m. at the Pentagon. And I want to just thank everybody, and in particular, God. I want to just say we love you, God, and we love our great military. Protect them. God bless the Middle East. God bless Israel. And God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you.
We go from that to, actually, no, I wanted to go to Pete Hegseth. Yeah, I'm going to go Pete Hegseth, and then I'll get reactions.
Middle of the night against 3 nuclear facilities in Iran, Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan, in order to destroy or severely degrade Iran's nuclear program.
It's about an hour long, but I'm not going to go. I'm not going to just go the entire. Basically, I just trying to get as many opinions as I can.
And overwhelming success. The order we received from our commander-in-chief was focused, it was powerful, and it was clear. We devastated the Iranian nuclear program. But it's worth noting the operation did not target Iranian troops or the Iranian people. For the entirety of his time in office, President Trump has consistently stated for over 10 years
Facts.
that Iran must not get a nuclear weapon. Full stop. Thanks to President Trump's bold and visionary leadership and his commitment to peace through strength, Iran's nuclear ambitions have been obliterated.
We go from that, and now opinions. And of course, this is Mark Levin on Fox last night.
Now, sometimes the military has to be used if it's used by a smart commander-in-chief, if it's used wisely, if it's used for a specific purpose, it gives us peace. So I want the so-called, I don't know what to call them, people running around, warmonger, the sloganeers. This should be an education for you, too. This should be an education for you, too. America, don't you feel relief? Of course you feel relief. Because these Islamo-Nazis were building nuclear weapons to attack us, too, with intercontinental ballistic missiles. Guess what? You can go to bed peacefully tonight. No, that's not going to happen.
And we go from that to this. We're going to Twitter, and of course, this is Congressional Representative Thomas Massie, who's not too happy regarding Donald Trump. Of course, he says this is not constitutional, coming from Donald Trump on Truth Social. We have completed our very successful attack against 3 nuclear sites in Iran, including Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. All planes are now outside of Iranian airspace. A full payload of bombs was dropped on the primary site, Fordow. All planes are safely on their way home. Congratulations to our great American warriors. This is not another military in the world that could have done this. Now is the time for peace, all caps. Thank you for your attention in this matter. Let's see. This is from Razor Fist. When Syria was bombed, I made a video excoriating Trump for a new war. Months later, no war, and arguably delayed Putin's invasion of Ukraine. Stubbornness is one of my character flaws. Refusal to learn a lesson is not. Basically, he say, take a shit, let the dust settle, then react. And let's see here. Let's see, anybody else on this one? No, this is one. Enderman, of course. Let's see. This is from Steve Dace. The patriot in me, the child of the 80s in me, loves to see a patriot president lay down an absolute smackdown on an evil regime, and our military be the vessel of such a righteous retribution. However, the grandpa in me, with a son-in-law who's just saw much of his unit without him deployed to Iraq, now likely to be targeted by Iranian ally terrorists, the dad in me, with a son who just turned 18, and the PST in me, from 2 decades of Middle Eastern failure theater, remains uneasy about where this ultimately goes. And to wrap this up, this is, of course, this was dropped by Rob Schneider, comedian Rob Schneider. Worth a listen, make no mistake. He thinks that we are now in war with Iran. And of course, this is from Nick Fuentes. And like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of Nick Fuentes. I think he's a nut. But yeah, he's got some serious issues going on. But I listened to this prior to playing it for you now. And it's very, very interesting.
That what should happen next is the entire United States, the American people, should be furious and outraged and standing up in one voice and saying, we do not want a war in Iran. Which is what we have, by the way, in case you missed the headlines. Some people are a little confused on this. But because it's Trump, because he is a Trojan horse, and I always said that was the worst effect. Better than Kamala? Certainly. Better domestic agenda? Marginally. But what makes him so dangerous is that he will take his entire base with him to support this war and deflate what could have been, what would have been an anti-war consensus and an awakening of a national consciousness against the influence of Israel, which brought us here. Instead, I see people on Twitter like Charlie Kirk and Matt Gaetz and Jack Posobiec and all the dissidents saying, well, you know, if we stop here, it's not really a war. They're saying, I don't think Trump wants a war in Iran. I don't think he wants a big, wide war in Iran. Hey, guess what? We're in a war with Iran. What else would you call this? We just bombed them. We just dropped 6 conventional bombs weighing 30,000 pounds that are nearly the size of a very small nuclear bomb on Iran's nuclear program. And this after we supported Israel's surprise attack, murdering their scientists, murdering their commanders, blowing up their airports, their capital, everything. And people say, if we go to war, I don't think Trump wants a war. We're in that war. And isn't it miraculous how that position has changed every single day over the past week and a half? 2 weeks ago, before the clouds came rolling in over the Middle East, they said no new wars. Trump will keep us out, they said. He's negotiating. Trump is going to make a deal with Iran. He's going to bend the Israelis over. That's what people were saying. They said that Trump and Netanyahu had a split. They broke up. Trump and Pete Hegseth aren't visiting Israel on his multi-stop visit to the Arabian Peninsula. They said Trump made peace with the Houthis without even notifying Israel. He's negotiating with Hamas to free an American captive. The rhetoric, they said, the rhetoric is so good, said Kurt Mills. Kurt Mills, the genius who said just trust Steve Witkoff and trust Trump because of their rhetoric, their framing of the issue. Idiot, dummy, fool, hello. You might be a nerd, but you're not smart. That was the first position. No new wars. Trump is going to navigate a way out of this. He's going to make a deal. He's working against the Israelis to resolve this with diplomacy. The second that Israel started dropping the bombs, it went from no new wars to, well, we should stay out of it. Remember? And of course we're in it. We've been in it for a long time. They said, well, we should stay out of it. Then when we shot down Iran's missiles over Israel, people said, well, we should stay out of it offensively. Stay out of it, but not defensively. We're very much in it and we should be in it, but offensively we shouldn't be in it. Then it went further and it said, well, once Trump said he was considering bombing Iran with American air power, they said, well, you know, hey, Trump always said he would destroy Iran's nukes. So, you know, if we got involved in that way, that's fine. Then when it became clear that that's what we would do, people said, hey, but it isn't regime change. It isn't boots on the ground. At least it isn't. And that's what they're saying tonight. America has bombed Iran. America's bombed their nuclear facilities with 6 massive bombs, struck 2 others with 30 missiles. And people are saying, well, but he doesn't want regime change. Well, but he doesn't want a wider war. Let's see what he does next. It doesn't matter. We're in a war. I'll tell you what's going to happen next. Iran will retaliate. What do you think is going to happen next? What happened after Israel bombed them last year, twice. They retaliated. What happened when we attacked them 5 years ago when we killed Soleimani and attacked them in the Persian Gulf? They retaliated. What do you think they're going to do now? What do they have to do? At the minimum, there's a risk. They're going to be firing missiles at American bases. They might close the Strait of Hormuz.
I'm gonna talk about
They
that
might
too.
attack
I don't
Saudi
think
oil.
that's
They're
gonna happen.
certainly going to hit back at Israel. The Houthis will be closing the Red Sea by bombing commercial shipping there. We don't want a war. We're in one. Now the ball is out of our hands. It's in their court. We do not control the initiative anymore. It's up to them. What will Iran do next? It's now their decision. You think we're going to go in and bomb them? They're going to be racing towards a nuclear weapon now. You think they're going to make a deal? They're going to make peace with Israel and the United States now? No chance. There's no chance.
Yeah, I'm going to try to condense this video as much as I can. Like I said in the beginning, only because it was quite lengthy to try to get everybody's opinion from where it started to where we are now. And there is one meme that's on there, and that was done by Jeremy Griggs of Geeks and Gamers. He posted a picture of Osborne, of course. Oh my gosh, I forgot the actor. You know who I'm talking about. And you know, I'm somewhat of an expert. You know, the meme. And of course, he posts Twitter right now. Everybody's an expert. Everyone's an expert now. Everyone's an expert on foreign policy. If you didn't know foreign policy from a hole in the effing ground, all of a sudden now you're an expert on foreign policy. Me, I'm no expert on foreign policy. I tell you, absolutely not. But I've watched enough, I've seen enough over the years to know Iran has been saber rattling for the last 4 decades, ever since they forcibly took over Iran from a somewhat democratic regime. You know, you see videos and you see postings of women working and wearing dresses and being out and about, and you know how Iran was prior to 1979, and then after. 9-day difference. So the one thing that we've always been told, that there has to be, if there's going to be quote unquote change in the Iranian regime, it has to come from the people. It has to come from the people who live there. It has to come from them. There has to be an uprising. Remember the uprising, for those short-term memories, back during the Obama years, where there was an uprising of people in Iran saying, you know what, we're tired of this, you know, we want change, we want to change for the better. Whatever came from that? Chirp, chirp, chirp. That's where that came from. Nothing happened after that. You got factions of not just MAGA, but conservatives who are all over the place with this. You got, like I said in the beginning, you got those who were saying, hey, you know what, it's, you know, it was necessary. Iran's been, Iran's been this close, you know, to getting nukes for years. They were saying this back when Reagan was in office, that Iran was close. They're close, you know. They're developing. They're close, you know. They're close. They're close to, you know, to some type of nuclear issue, you know. And then we heard it during the Bush years, Daddy Bush. Then we heard it during Clinton years. Then we heard it during George W.'s years. Then we heard it during Obama years. And then we heard it during Trump 1.0. And then for some reason, there was silence. It was eerily silent during the Menches, 4 years. You know, why was that? I wonder. But anyway, this is where we are now. And to me, I don't know where this is going. You know, were we in a Cold War with Iran for the last 4+ decades? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Have they been the world state-sponsored terrorist organization? Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, we're not just talking 9/11 here. You know, we're talking decades of this. You know, Americans' lives lost, Israeli lives lost, you know, British lives lost. Name the country whose lives haven't been affected by Iran's terroristic threats and or carried them out. But do I agree with Nick Fuentes? Tell you right, it was an interesting listen. You know, watching it again for a second time. You know, taking it all in. But like I said, he's got some points. You know, like I said, I disagree vehemently on a number of issues. You know, he's got some racist tendencies in him. But on this issue, yeah, he made some points, and it was worth the listen. But what do you think? You know, what do you think we're going to go with all this? You know, please leave the comments below. You know, whose ball is in what court now? Does Iran now have the ball in their court to say, hey, you know what? Now we're going to do this, 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 and this. Oh, and also regarding the Strait of Hormuz, I was watching and reading a couple of different articles before doing the video that China gets a super majority of their oil through that strait. And the West, the US, only gets about 15%. So do you really think that they're going to close off the, you know, Strait of Hormuz, knowing that China's like, wait, hold on now. We get roughly 85% of our oil through this strait. You're not doing squat. So I don't see it happening. Do I see oil? You know, I've seen Twitter feeds where people are saying that, you know, prepare for gas at $5 a gallon or what have you. We don't know what's going to happen. Like I said, I don't know what's going to happen. Like I said, I do not claim to be an expert like so many others on Twitter right now who are claiming to be such when they're really not. But this is going to be interesting. Next few days, next few weeks, this is going to be very interesting to see where this goes. And a lot of people are pissed off that Trump, who's kept us out of incidents, you know, out of situations, out of issues, out of, you know, wars, if you will, during his first term, and then has pretty much kept that up during the run up to Trump 2.0. And then all of a sudden now we're in a situation. We're in an issue. We're involved in an incident. You know, so oh boy. And with that being said, I'm Jazz Berganzo. This is What's Next. Want to see more like this? Please have a comment below. Like it, share, subscribe to it. Hit that notification bell so you guys never miss a thing. Continue spreading the word about the show. Appreciate you guys watching as always. And we'll see you next time. Peace.